It always comes to this. More nice shit. Hello there guys, here to do another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I had showed off the session over here on my chest tattoo with Rick, and I showed off the new roses that Terry did up for me over the week. I had 2 sessions on this, and obviously the 1 session on my chest. These are mostly healed now. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's just like because there's a lot of movement in your arms, or if it's because I've got a ton of scar tissue, or whatever the case. But these took a little bit longer to heal than I normally take on, say, my chest. I didn't really talk about the pain of any of my sessions last week, or like what things feel like, or anything like that. People often ask me these things, so I always feel like I should probably mention that somewhere. Whether things feel more painful the more sessions you do on them or less. And the answer is kind of complicated as usual. Some things feel more painful upon repeating sessions, where some things feel less painful. For example, I had another session on my chest this week. We did quite a bit this time. We got this mandible filled in here to mirror this one. And same as the eyes, if you'll remember, and I'll include a picture. Before, these eyes here were just framed in with black and red. Now they have the same amount of color, and they're filled in as much as the other side. There's still just a little bit more to do in each of them, I believe. But overall, they're getting there. We also did the brain here. We did a lot more pink. And some beige tones. The brain is basically complete now, so long as it heals well. There will be a little bit more like kind of touching up, obviously. Same as all the color. We plan on doing a couple sessions color throughout. I don't know if it'll be a full second pass on the color. I think it's more like high points and kind of touching up things that didn't go as well. So for example, as I mention all the time, I had some scabbing on this one, and so that will need to be touched up quite a bit because the color in there is not as solid as anywhere else. But overall, we're getting there. That was session 13 now, so that means I've had 13 sessions in a row on this piece, and it's been achievable because we've been doing it kind of 1 section at a time. So in other words, by the time something's healed, something else is getting worked on. So basically, it's been a period of jumping from one part of it to another, back to the other, then back, then back, then back. That'll probably keep going. I think by now we're probably approaching the halfway point on this chest piece. For it's the actual chest piece itself anyway. The background and stuff I think will be all in its own time. So I plan on having, I'll just show. I plan on having background like we have the texture here and we have all over my torso. I plan on doing that same thing, or at least something similar, in behind, and doing some shadowing. You can see we've already done some shadowing here and over here, in places on and around the tentacles in order to bring them out. We already know that framing with heavy black, and once these are colored, you can actually go back into them and add black for more success. But we couldn't really do that early on because there was nothing there to frame yet. So that's part of why we did the color first with this. They are outlined and there's a little bit of black in places, but there's going to be a lot more black. There's going to be a lot more light tones too when it's all done, just because now we have the picture there. We can start kind of fixing and adjusting things about it as we need. So, anyway, that brain is looking really cool. I'll put it up here close. So little hints of blue really come through now with the more pink in there. Rick is going to bring the brain down just a bit here. It was really hard to see. There's a lot of glare. When he's tattooing me, he turns off all the lights in the studio except the ring light. That's been the best thing he's found, especially when we just had that outline here that most people didn't think we'd be able to turn into anything, by the way, which I'll just put a little humble "I told you so" in there. We did turn it into something, but anyway, I knew we would. Yeah, it's a little hard to see, so the best way he's found to see outlines and black lines on black is to turn all the lights off except the ring light. So it's like hyper focused. You don't get a lot of like glare coming from different directions. Because some of those lines were done with that Panthera liner black. They were and are indiscernible. Luckily now most of the picture is here, and so we don't really need to even worry about that anymore. And when you're working on something for so long, you just start to get a feel for what you're using and what you're doing, and it gets easier as you go. So, a couple things left to frame in here on the actual chest itself. We need to get into these ones here, the mandibles down here, and do some shading around the bottom of the mouth. And obviously this color was our first shot. This was the third session where we first started the color on this. That will need to be gone into again. Obviously this one didn't work as well, but everything has stayed as it did. As I said, once it's in, it's in. You get what you get. It doesn't really change, and in fact that came through. Like, that's the brightest white anywhere on me for some reason. I always feel like we achieved something that should have been absolutely out of this world with my armpit tattoos. Like, people should have been very impressed with this result that we got in my armpits, because armpits are hard as fuck to saturate, by the way, and most people don't even have armpit tattoos. So I don't feel like people recognize that for the accomplishment that it was. I don't need praise, but I just feel like that one flew under the radar. So I'm always going to point these out, because these are spectacle in tattooing. To go 10, 11 sessions in each armpit and to have full color over black armpits is a huge deal, whether or not anybody cared about it or not for whatever reason. I wasn't expecting adulation, don't get me wrong. It's just I'll be posting color on black now, and people will be acting like I haven't already been showing that off for a long time, because now it's on my chest where you can see it all the time, or say the red on my neck where you can see that all the time. For whatever reason, that's a big deal, but this doesn't exist. Like, it's mind-boggling to me. People are strange, fickle creatures, really. Interested in certain things and not others, we'll say. It's not something that I knew before I got into social media as much as I do now. You really learn that people aren't as interested in certain things as others. and you learn how to harness that, but it kind of shines a light on the bad parts of it too. Anyway, I don't want to get too far into that again. I talked quite a bit about that stuff last time. What we'll be doing next is we'll be heading back down here, as I was mentioning. We're going to be working on the mandibles here, probably framing in the face more with the shading, as I was talking about. Thinking a little bit more black around the bottom here. If you'll remember, there was a key in here. You can't see that at all anymore. That's completely gone. Anyone who can point out where the old chest piece is, be my guest. A lot of people thought that we wouldn't be able to put this tattoo over that fresh blackout chest. But you can't see the halo of it anymore. It's completely gone. There's enough distraction there now that even the parts that aren't covered, like, you can see the wingtips up here, but you can't see the wingtips up there. Not unless you really know. So anyway, we're going to be doing that. Then we'll probably go back and forth on the sides again. Do some more color, more framing, more shading. And then we're back into the main face again. That'll be the next one. So that's the next 4 sessions on my chest. By then, we'll be session 17 by that point. I think it will be pretty clear. Clearer than it is now even. Now, as I said to Rick, like every time we touch this thing, it gets clearer. And there'll come a point when it won't look like it's even a cover-up. Because the thing about doing something over black is, because someone asked me, like, why don't you just cover your back? Why don't you just cover it traditional style cover-up if you can, rather than black it out? Well, you're working with an uneven surface. Like you're starting with all different levels of tattoo and all different darkness and all different light source and shapes and stuff. When you flatten the canvas out, like when you black it all out, and here's a good case for doing it this way instead of trying to do a traditional cover-up. You're working with all different tones. So the color is going to look different over different parts of it. This, putting it on black, you're like putting the board back to 0. Now you could be working from a disadvantage, or you change the way you're thinking and all of a sudden it's an advantage. Colors don't really go in worse over blacked out skin. They go in different. And it's going to take a minute for people to wrap their mind around that, but that's been my experience. For example, this red looks better than that red. I don't know why. I don't care why, but it is true. This is a cooler color than that. And I haven't seen an ink that gets that color on normal skin. And I've tried a lot of different reds. I've tried a lot of different colors in general, and I've never seen that color anywhere but over blackout. So just something to think about. If you are considering a cover-up, your options are a lot more than what a lot of people would have you believe. Now, before I end this one off, I'll just say we got a different background going here again today for this one. I really don't like that black wall. We did a couple of reacts on that wall, and I don't know if it's the black, like me being black and the wall being black, but there was almost no differentiating the two elements, me and the background, so the foreground and the background, and the camera really didn't know what to do with that. It was bad. So I actually had to edit that. I don't edit any of this. I don't like editing. I'm not interested in finding little cheats to make things clearer. I do these vlogs on my front-facing iPhone camera. If this wasn't easy for me to do, I wouldn't be doing it. So I don't want to get into a whole bunch of hijinks and photo editing and phony nonsense that a lot of people on this platform are going to show you. Newsflash, a lot of the better performing videos out there are hyper edited, and most of the posts you like on Instagram are too. Everything that I'm doing is straight up. There's no fucking around, and that's the way I want to keep it. So whether it would help me or not to do it, to hyper edit my shit and get really fake with the rest of the fake people out there, I'm not interested in getting into that. And if I had to take more time with this, I just wouldn't, because I just don't have time to spend on that. When you're living a busy life as a father and a husband and managing a business and trying to have time for your own interests at the same time, I don't want to be putting any time at all into editing things and faking it. So the only thing I have considered is getting a clearer camera. But if I don't have a front face, it's really hard for me to do these. So I don't know how I'm going to sort that one out. If you have any suggestions for that, I'd be willing to listen to those in the comments. But in terms of ramping up the setup and tear down of this whole operation, I'm not real interested. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.